Hi everyone, my name is Sylvain Hellegouarch and I'm Reliably CTO. I'm here to talk about my beginner's journey into eBPF for SREs. Let's get started. So what are we talking about? Reliability. Industry defined that as a measure of continuity of service. SRE is a practitioner's approach to reliability, trying to surface to the stakeholders all those aspects of reliability, availability, all those system point of view to the stakeholders so that they're aware of it. Among other things, SRE codifies reliability goals as service level objectives and their indicators, service level indicators. So for example, tolerating no more than 0.1% of HTTP failures over a given period of time for a given service. So where does eBPF fit into that? Well, because you can program the system and to raise some signals and some events, you can turn that into your kernel into a service level indicator generator machine. You just capture some, for example, HTTP transit, and you measure things like latencies or status codes and stuff like that. That's exactly what we're going to see in the next demo, which you can find on GitHub. All right, on the top left corner, I've got a simple web service that, web app that listened on port 8000 on localhost. I'm going to inject some traffic into that, and you'll see that sometimes some errors. That's on purpose for the demo so that we get to see something interesting. On the top right corner, I've got my eBPF program, which I'm attaching a socket to the service that is running on the left so that I'm getting a copy of all the requests that are passing by, and I can start measuring things like latencies or availability and of that traffic. Then I take that and I push that as indicators to Reliably, which allows me to capture the service level objectives that I am interested in. And that's exactly what we see at the bottom. So boom, that's what we have, a closed loop. We've closed the loop where we have eBPF now feeding service level indicators for me to see from service level objectives. And what we see here, for example, is sometimes for that short period of time, neither the latency nor the availability are doing good, but sometimes they come back. Obviously, that's a very short window, so that goes back and forth. All right, at that stage, we are now, we've seen a demo, but what is the key takeaways? What are the key takeaways for me as a beginner? Well, it was somewhat overwhelming because eBPF has a bit of a meandering learning curve. The documentation is a bit all over the place and the UX is raw, if not crude. But I think it makes complete sense. It's not a product, right? It's not governed by a body of people or business interests. It's a tech available to all through the Linux kernel, interface, and that's exactly fantastic. But that does mean that when you dive into it, you need to do a lot of work to really figure out what's going on. You don't really have an easy access to the tech stack from a UX perspective or documentation perspective. For example, what are the right practices? How many eBPF programs can I attach to a system before the performance crumble? What is the right level of hooks I should attach to? Those aren't really defined because, again, the tech is there, but it's up to you to define those. It's continuously evolving with the kernel, which is obviously a good thing because more points are added, but sometimes it means that the examples you find are not relevant or not working anymore. Or attaching a program at a function call may not work because you've released a new version and the function call has moved. Now, it's not eBPF's problem for that, but you have to be aware of a form of fragility into that. Distribution story is not there. The best you can hope for is a Git repository with some scripts that you can play. The BCC script, for example, repository has plenty of those, and that's fantastic, but that means really you have to just go and search for them. You can't just look for a package manager and say, download me this and install that. That doesn't happen yet. And a low-level access seems almost alien when you have had years for the last 10 years of containers, Kubernetes, serverless. All those abstractions have taken us away from the low-level code, so it's a bit daunting, but so much fun to actually go back to that and look back at where we started, what we learned probably at school or uni or in the early years of our experience. So it was a lot of fun, and I really suggest you have an experience like that. So key takeaways for an SRE, well, like we just said, it's nowhere there in terms of UX, of packaging and everything. So perhaps don't bet everything on eBPF yet, but do get started with it. Really, it's really powerful technology. As you saw during the demo, I didn't have to install any other company products, any other commercial product. I just add my Linux kernel, surfacing the event I needed, and I could see that as service level objective. So it has a lot of power, but it requires a lot of work to get there. So maybe you want to start with projects such that are eBPF aware, such as Herbal, Falco, Apply, and start from there. All right, that was my journey into SRE, into eBPF as an SRE, and I hope you really enjoyed it. Have a fantastic summit, everyone. Keep rocking and keep coding.